15 years ago, I was diagnosed with Crohn's.
Crohn's disease.
Crohn's
You've heard
disease.
of it?
Digestive issues. My whole life plagued me. And
Tell them how inconvenient Crohn's disease is.
well, it's especially inconvenient because you don't want to talk about the symptoms. It took my whole life away from me. And I was introduced to this work in 2010 when a doctor offered a colostomy bag for me. And I didn't obviously want to do that. And there happened to be a movie called What the Bleep Do We Know that I watched. I don't know if you've noticed, but that movie never mentions the word meditation. But it does say that if you change your choices and how you feel about yourself, your life will change and you will get your health back. And I was desperate. So at the time, I sold my shares in a company I founded with one other person. I left Hong Kong. I broke off my engagement. And I moved to Florida, to a sleepy little town, to be with my mom to take care of me. It was the furthest environment from where I came from. It was the perfect environment to not be who I used to be. It was great, and I got better. For 5 years, I was medication-free. I had no colostomy bag. But what I did have is I had a prison where I had to control every possible trigger. So I created this new environment that helped me stay healthy. What I didn't realize I did was I created an external environment that helped me stay healthy. So I focused very carefully on what I ate. I would walk the beach for 3 miles every single day. I would be too scared to start a family, although I wanted that more than anything in the world. Until one faithful day, I met my husband, who's here with me, and he proposed on our second date. And
that's a fast track.
And it's been amazing. What that did do is it changed my carefully controlled environment. And I actually went back to a life resembling a life that was similar to when I got sick.
Hang on a second. I don't think you understand what she's saying here. Do you understand that she insulated herself from anything in her environment that would trigger her? Whether it was emotional, whether it was diet, whether it was chemical, whether it was physical, she insulated herself from everyone or everything that could possibly elicit a response in her. So she's taking care of the effect and not the cause, right? So she's trapped, as she said, in her own world because she can't do anything that she wants to do. She thinks that eliminating and doing everything right is the answer, but her fear about stepping out of the known into the unknown is starting to be a loud voice in her head, so she's realizing she's got to do something else. How many people understand?
So for 3 years, I lived a different life. I lived in Chicago, a big city. There was an extra layer of stress. 6 months of winter I was not equipped to handle and very new for me. So for 3 years I stressed. I stressed about going outside because there were too many tourists in the summer. And in the winter I worried about going outside because it was too cold. And at the end of those 3 years I was very, very sick again. And all I wanted to do was move back to Florida because that's what I had anchored my belief to being the answer to getting better. But we couldn't do that. We had our first baby, and 3 years later, and when she was 10 months old, I was in my deathbed in the hospital and really thought I wouldn't come out. For months I was in and out of ICU. my husband had to carry me from the bed to the toilet, and there would just be blood everywhere. And all I wanted to do was love for her. I was willing to do anything. And so December 24th was when I was released out of hospital. And January 1st was when I started doing the work. I actually got Joe's 3-part series on Hay House newsletter, a little video series that reintroduced me to the work that I'd heard in What the Bleep in a more refined way. And on January 1st, I'd wake up every morning and I would go and listen to this course. I didn't know, I wasn't doing the meditations just yet, I was just learning at the time. I was too weak to get my daughter. I would pick her up out of bed and I would hold her and I would scoot down the stairs on my butt because I had no strength. I was 90 pounds with no strength. But it didn't once occur to me to skip a morning of learning the work. And I did that for 6 months. And then Dr. Joe came and did a progressive in Chicago, and we went to that. And I felt my first connection with oneness. And I asked my husband to buy me a bag of Cheetos.
I'll take it.
Then we went to Indian Wells, and I had amazing experiences, amazing meditations, but I never popped, and I was waiting to scream out. I was waiting for the lightning bolt. I was, as everyone, I guess. And then I went back again in Santa Fe, and I had been healthy for about 6 months at the time, and Dr. Joe offered for me to come up and do a testimonial at that time, and I refused. I refused for 2 reasons. The first reason is Crohn's is a disease that goes into remission, and then it flares up, and then goes into remission, and I didn't feel like 6 months was long enough for me to feel confident that this was truly gone forever. I wanted a little bit longer, and luckily, I was 38 weeks pregnant, so my stress test was coming. And I knew that if I could stay healthy through the birth of our second child, then it's gone forever. And in the time, we have gone through, our environment, our external environment has been very stressful. I feel like now that I'm capable of dealing with life, it's almost like I'm going through some incredible initiation where I say to my husband, the one nice thing about all the stress coming our way is that I actually don't have time to focus on the previous issue because there's a new issue coming up already.
There's a quickening.
But I've stayed healthy. I haven't had one flare-up. I haven't had one episode. And there is, thank you. There's one thing I want to share with you that I'm not sure if Dr. Joe has spoken about this, but it's disassociating from the identity of being sick when you're healthy. I was healthy for 2 years, and I believed I was healthy when I was healthy, but when I had a stomach cramp that was not Crohn's, but just a normal stomach cramp, or when I had too much magnesium, I would have to catch myself from thinking it's coming back. And I felt like that was actually the hardest challenge to overcome. The wanting for the disease to be gone and making it happen is one thing. And then I could step into that reality in my meditations. I knew I was healthy. I knew that I was whole, and I could live in that wholeness most of the time until I felt something. And learning to disassociate and stay in that box of being healthy, even when you ate something bad, was my biggest challenge, and I'm glad I overcame that. I'm healthy all the time.
Hang on. Think about this. In the past, she would have a symptom, whether it was tightening in her abdomen, gurgling, pain, burning, whatever it was. The moment she had that stimulus in the past, that stimulus would cause her to anticipate, listen to the word I use, automatically select that future reality.
Exactly.
Stimulus response. You with me? No different than listening to a song on the radio reminds you of a time in your life. That pain, that signal, reminded her of her past. How many people understand? Now, when she's in the familiar past, what is she going to do? Predict the future based on the past. Are you with me? So her body is automatically running, programmed. It's been programmed into that future. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's that automatic. It doesn't have to be Crohn's. It could be poverty. It could be lack. It could be suffering. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Are you with me? So then in psychology, there's a thing called inhibition or systematic desensitization. And what inhibition is, throw the stimulus there and teach a person another response. And by not responding the same way, you inhibit the conditioning response, and conditioning is subconscious. And if you keep inhibiting it, you break the pattern. That's what you're doing here. Does that make sense? So this is a very astute awareness because she's catching it in the bud. You understand? She caught herself feeling a feeling, whether she ate something wrong or took too much magnesium, that's going to loosen your stool. She automatically got big enough and aware enough to be conscious enough to no longer automatically do that, because that would be a self-fulfilling prophecy. She wouldn't even know that that's what was causing it. She would just think that it came back. But she was getting sick by thought alone in anticipation of the same outcome that's happened up until this point. How many people understand? Exactly. Now, can you do this with the fact that you haven't found the right job? Can you do it with the fact that your coworker drives you nuts? You can do it with all of these things because it's that stimulus that automatically drives the brain and body right into that future, automatically. When you catch it, the inhibition process breaks the chain between the cause, the stimulus, and the response, the image or the association and the feeling, and she's breaking that association and her biology, just like Pavlov. Ring the bell, give the dog a delicious meal. Ring the bell again, give him another meal. Ring the bell at the same time and give him another meal. Ring the bell, don't give him a meal, and watch them prepare, anticipate the outcome.
Exactly.
You with me? Yes. Come on. Yes. Take away the bell, the dog salivates for 3 days, and then he says, what, no food? I'm just going to drool when I want. So there's an inhibition that takes place when there's no delivery. Do you understand? And she caught the feeling. It wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even a feeling. It was a feeling. A feeling. It's just something. It's a combination of the both. You understand? Excellent point.
And so I was sitting there and I was thinking, what is the one thing I want to share with you? And the biggest takeaway I want you to have from this is I didn't have a gamma pop.
You don't need one.
I just showed up.
Now, I said that the closer you are to the unified field, the less separation between 2 points of consciousness, you, consciousness, free-willed, individual and then the objective consciousness of the unified field. When your consciousness merges with a greater consciousness and the two become one, and there's no separation, and you're creating from the field, you may have an instantaneous arousal. Are you with me still? Yes. That's one way that it happens. And then other people are just shaving down the rough edges every day. Just shaving them down, just taking them down, one by one, dismantling the personality, one by one, staying conscious of a program. Every day, just shaving one down, and they wake up one day, and they realize they hadn't had pain for the last 6 weeks, but they were too busy being somebody else. You understand? They just popped into someone else. So you don't need the fireworks. I'm saying that there's going to come a time when that is going to be normal for all of us. You understand? But the arousal that will come, your nervous system will be able to adapt to it. The arousal that I have now, compared to when I first started having them, I can tolerate a lot more energy than I did back then. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've had incredible creations where I didn't have anything except that I felt like I nailed it. That was all I had. And that's enough. Do you understand? Because if you make it be about that, you're back in separation. It should just be about your effort and being pleased and satisfied with your efforts, and sooner or later, you're satisfied with you, and nobody's opinion is going to change how satisfied you are with you.
Thank you. But the one thing I did do was I meditated every single day.
Wait. Wait a second. You meditated every day?
Single day.
Come on.
Ask my husband.
Every day?
I would meditate when he would be sleeping next to me because I was pregnant.
What the hell were you doing? You weren't meditating? No, I'm kidding. No, listen.
An hour to 2 hours a day. I'd wake up at 4 o'clock every single morning and I would meditate every single day.
But here's the real question. Did you enjoy it?
Loved it. It was my husband would ask me, why every single day? And I'd say to him, it's my connection to God. When I can connect to God first thing in the morning, it makes my whole day beautiful. Why wouldn't I want to do that?
And if you keep doing it every day, and you connect every day, and you feel better than yesterday, and the next day you feel better than the day before, you just keep feeling better. And then there goes your disease. How many people understand?
The last thing I'm going to say is, before I came to this retreat, I went to my functional medicine doctor, and we did a lot of tests, and he asked me how I'm feeling, what I have to report back. And it was a very cool thing to reflect back on, because what I ended up coming to realize is I've never been this healthy. I wanted to say I'm healthier now than I was 2 years ago, but that's not true. I was sick when I was in my 20s, and I was sick with digestive issues when I was a teenager. And I remember being rushed to the doctor when I was 5 out of school with digestive issues. So that was my earliest memory, and I am healthier than I've ever been.
Now listen to that affirmation. I am healthier than I ever been. She's affirming the truth. How many people understand? That's not an affirmation, it is a reality. I am means my mind and body are connected to a destiny. Yep. And that's the I am, that's the truth.
And my husband and I had pizza last night, so.
Yeah!